Hey everyone, welcome back to another review. This time I'm going to be reviewing Skies of Fury Deluxe, or DX, I guess, by Illumination Games. I did receive this game as a review copy. This is, of course, on the Nintendo Switch, and let's start with an overview of the game. The game is an aerial combat game that takes place during World War I. It reminds me a lot of Warbirds for the Atari Lynx. I remember when I was a kid, a friend of mine had an Atari Lynx, and I would go over to his house, and he would sit there and play, I think, Ramparts on his computer, and I would play Warbirds on the Atari Lynx, and I had a lot of fun playing that game. And Skies of Fury DX brings me right back to that. There's a couple different. I mean, it's just like any other aerial combat game. You are flying against other planes, and you got to shoot them down. This one happens to take place during World War I. And so, you know, you don't have missiles or anything like that. There's no locking on, although that's not entirely true. But it's very, very simple combat. There's not a lot of depth to it, but that doesn't mean it's not fun, because I've had a lot of fun playing this game. So the different missions, I guess, could be broken down into one of three categories. You've got escorts, you've got dogfights, and you've got races. Now, as you play the game, you will level up your pilot, and this will unlock new planes for you, as well as new skins for the planes, actually through loot boxes. And I said loot boxes, but don't panic. It's not microtransactions. It's just after a mission, you unlock a loot box, and then you can open it up to see what you get. You know, maybe you get a cool new paint job for your plane, or maybe you get a new crosshair. And it's very, very simple things like that, but it's still kind of fun to open up that box and hope that you get something that you get really excited about. As you level up your character, you also earn skill points, which you can use to branch out your character in different ways, however it is that you see fit. I really do like the player choice that is given here, and it doesn't feel daunting. I hate it when games give me a bunch of choices and I don't fully understand the game yet. And then I'm like, I get paralyzed by what is it that I'm going to pick? I can't make a decision, and then I just wait. Whereas with this, they're right down in the bottom right portion of the screen. It shows you, hey, guess what? You don't have to worry about it, because you can always get all your points back and spend them some other way. Being able to reset all your points and try something else is really great, and I like that that's in there. So it doesn't feel daunting when you level up and you don't know where you want to spend your points. Just, you know, kind of go with it and have fun with it. I will say this about the game. It's got really quick missions, which I really like, and I feel like this is a kind of game that is perfect for playing on the go, even though I feel like it's best with the Pro Controller. And a lot of times, it surprises me how many games that I play on the Switch where I don't think that the Pro Controller is the best controller for it, but this one, the Pro Controller definitely feels the most comfortable. But we'll get back to that in a little bit. Since I mentioned the loot boxes, I suppose I should talk about this now. I really would have liked it if I could open all the loot boxes at once rather than sit through the animation each time. This wouldn't really be an issue, but in the game, you get lots of loot boxes. Like, you get a lot of them. And so going back to the main menu after a few missions, and then you got like 20 boxes to open, it kind of takes some of the fun out of it. Another way to alleviate that would be if they just have the loot boxes openable without going back to the main screen. Hey, you finished this mission. Here's a loot box. Hold a button and open it. Do you want to equip that now? Yes. Awesome. That would be great if I could just open the box after a mission and then move on. Going back to that main menu kind of seems stilted and a little bit annoying, enough so that I've kind of given up on the loot boxes. I probably have like 15 loot boxes waiting for me, but I just can't be bothered to go open them up. But that's probably because I'm having so much fun just playing the game. The graphics for the game are really great. They've got this wonderful cel-shaded art style. It almost looks like a hand-painted comic book. I will say this, flying through the clouds to lose an enemy on your tail not only feels really satisfying, but it also looks great. I love the look of flying through the clouds. almost like as you're going through, you've got these different layers of clouds that are slowly moving out of the way. It's really cool. So I'm a big fan of the graphics for this game, and I think the audio is pretty good. It gets a bit repetitive, but fortunately, the developer saw fit to let us turn the music off if we wanted to listen to our own music. The sound effects are pretty good, nothing super exciting, and the game does have rumble, but the rumble is kind of hard to notice. And in fact, I kind of forgot it was there until one day I was wearing my headphones and my son came in to talk to me, and I took my headphones off and I was still playing while I was talking to him, and that's when I noticed that the rumble was buzzing a little bit. It would have been nice to have that rumble just be a little more powerful. That's one of the things about the Switch that I really love is the HD rumble, and this takes advantage of it, but not enough. I feel like they could have done more with the HD rumble, but you never know, maybe they will. The controls are great on the Pro Controller. Like I said before, it's a little bit worse on the Joy-Cons, but it's definitely playable. Since there's not a radar in the game, because you wouldn't have a radar in World War II planes, you have L and R buttons, and that will basically lock onto a target like off to the side, and the camera will give you a slightly different view of your plane while you try and get that target in front of your plane. Then you can start shooting again, and it switches back to the normal view of the game, I guess. And I really, really like that. Not only does it work well, but it also has a real cinematic feel to it. Something else about the controls is if you fly up to a friendly plane and you hit the B button, they will become your wingman. Now, as I was playing the game, I had trouble deciding whether or not I liked this as a mechanic. I like it because it adds one more thing for me to do. You know, go find a friendly plane, get them to fly with me. But at the same time, if they're flying right with me, then they only tend to fire when I fire. And when I'm out of ammo, they're out of ammo. And that meant, like, on certain escort missions where you're escorting these other planes and trying to make sure that they get to a certain point without getting shot down by the enemy, one of the ways to get the enemy to stop shooting at them is to shoot at the enemy just enough to get them to try and dodge out of the way. And if you've got your two wingmen, I guess, if you got two wingmen, then they're not shooting when you're not shooting. So if you're reloading, that means that these other planes are not shooting, and they're not disrupting the enemy from shooting at your escort, if that makes sense. I'm having trouble putting it into words. But that's something where I was never quite sure if it was a good idea for me to get one of these other planes as a wingman or not. And if you've played the game and you like have figured out the strategy that says, yeah, you definitely want to have them with you all the time, then let me know. Something else in the controls, you also have like these dodges. So this is tied to your D-pad. So left, right, and down on the D-pad will give you this flourish where your plane will like do a barrel roll, cue Star Fox reference right there, or you know, they'll kind of flip, they'll invert and then flip over and fly back the other direction. And you use this when you've got an enemy shooting at you and you need to shake them off and there's no clouds nearby. By the way, I think I mentioned it already, but you fly through the clouds and it kind of obscures everything that you see, but it also means that you're hidden and they can't see where you are. Which is a really cool mechanic as well. So the game has is it over 100 levels or 100 levels? I think it's 100 levels. There's 5 different chapters. Each chapter has 10 missions in it, and it's 10 missions for the British, and then 10 missions for the Germans, basically. And at the end of each chapter, there is like a little comic book, which is kind of cool as well. And I won't say anything about the comic book. I'll let you guys figure that stuff out on your own. But there's 100 missions, and then there's like bonus stuff that you can do inside those missions to up the difficulty. And that seems like a lot of content. And that's just the campaign. In addition to the campaign, There's also this survival mode, basically, where you can have up to 4 players split screen going up against either just dogfighting against each other or, trying to survive against waves of enemies together as well. And that's really cool. But what we don't have here is online multiplayer. And this is a game that I think would absolutely shine with online multiplayer. Of course, we would probably just end up using Discord because Nintendo doesn't have a voice chat solution on the Switch. But this is a game where I would absolutely adore shooting down and being shot down by my friends in this game. And I've reached out to Illumination Games and I said, are you guys going to be adding network play in the future? And they said it's definitely something that was on the horizon, that's their words, like a little pun on aerial combat stuff, I guess. But they said it's something that's on the horizon, and it really depends on how well the game sells as to whether or not they're going to be able to take the resources that would be required in order to get network code up and running for the game. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I really, really hope that it does, because this seems like a game that could really shine on the Nintendo Switch if there's online play and like you have leaderboards, how many players can you shoot down in a single turn or something like that. I think that Skies of Fury DX would really be amazing with network play. As it is, it's a very, very fun game. Like, it's not often where I will sit down and be able to play a game for like 4 hours in one sitting. And I totally did that with this game. And it was a lot of fun. And I've still got more to play. I'm not completely done with the whole thing. And every time I load it up, I find myself just whisked away. And I can't recommend the game enough. I think it's really, really good. And I'm a big fan of Skies of Fury Deluxe. So it comes out today on the 12th. And let's see, I think it's $20 on the Nintendo Switch eShop. And if you pick it up, let me know what you think of Skies of Fury. And of course, be sure to check out my podcast, Nintendo Switchcraft, at runjumpstomp.com. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.